Okay, we've taken a look at basic driver control. Now, it works, it drives, but we are able to do a lot more with driver control than just the basic functionality. So we pop back in here. We've got our controller. I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to turn off. I'll turn off those buttons. I'm going to leave the driver joysticks on. There's there's other ways to do it, but this way is probably best. But I've turned off the buttons for the arm and the claw. Now, going into my code, I've got when started. Now, I'm going to play around with making sure that we use the competition templates on here. So I'm going to keep when started over there. And I'm going to go to events and say when driver control. That way we know if we're at a competition, driver control is going to start when this starts. Whenever we're programming something for controls, we also need to make sure that it is repeating forever. So I can grab the repeat forever loop, pull it over, and start building my code up in here. Now, the reason we do that is because if you don't have that, you can push a button, something's going to happen, but then it won't happen again because it's already done it. You want it to keep looping and always checking those buttons to make sure they're going to work. So with that, within here, let's start with the arm. So while, I'm going to use the while loop here, while one button is pushed, I want the arm to do something. While another button is pushed, I want the arm to do something else. So I've got my two while statements here. Now I can come back over to and go sensing, and we should have controller sensing here. So I've got controller 1 up, and if you click down, you can see a bunch of the buttons. So let's say I have controller 1, L1. So this is L1 is that button there on the back. So if that's pressed, I'm going to say, let's spin my arm forward. Okay, makes sense. And then we'll come back down to sensing. We'll grab that controller button again. So let's say if controller L2 is pressed, I want to spin my arm in reverse. Now essentially this is the same thing that we did previously in the device manager, but you'll see that we can build off a lot more from here than we did previously. Now the issue that we're going to have is when I press the buttons, it's going to start spinning, but when I let go, it's still going to keep going in whatever button I hit last. So I do need to say stop arm also in the loop. So then it checks. If I hit L1, it goes up. It cycles, it checks and sees if it's still being pressed. But if I stop pressing one of the buttons, it's going to stop the arm. So if I go download to the robot and hit play, we should be able to see my arm going up and down. So really straightforward there. Same way that we did that, I can actually come in here and duplicate everything. And I'm going to put it in the bottom. And same way that I did for the arm, I'm going to go through and set it up. And set it up for the claw. So if R1 is pressed, I want the claw to open. If R2 is pressed, I want the claw to go reverse. So claw to go reverse. And if I'm not hitting anything, I want the claw to stop. So just that basic copying, I'll download that to the robot again. And we're going to hit play. And now we should see I've got some functionality between how this stuff's all working. So like that, I've managed to reprogram my robot to drive again, but without using that device manager. And it's created a bit of a system that I can now expand on as I go. We'll stop this video here and we'll move on to the next.